Hello, I'm Marita Golden, co-founder and president emerita of the Zora Neale Hurston Richard Wright Foundation. Welcome to the Legacy Awards.
Welcome to the 21st Annual Zora Neale Hurston Richard Wright Foundation's Legacy Awards. Hosted by Karyn Parsons, today's event features appearances by Imani Perry, Felicia Pride, Sydney Clifton, daughter of Lucille Clifton, Lucy Hurston, niece of Zora Neale Hurston, and more. We honor Elizabeth Alexander, Keonga Yamata Taylor, and Ron Kavanaugh with Lifetime Achievement Awards and announce this year's book award winners in the categories of poetry, fiction, debut fiction, and nonfiction. Welcome to this year's Legacy Awards. Here is tonight's host, Karyn Parsons. Karyn Parsons is best known for her role as Hilary Banks on NBC's The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After Fresh Prince, Karyn went on to found Sweet Blackberry, an award-winning series of children's animated films and books sharing stories of unsung Black heroes in history, featuring narration from stars such as Alfre Woodard, Queen Latifah, Chris Rock, and Lawrence Fishburne. The films have screened on HBO and Netflix and are enjoyed by schools and libraries across the country. Karyn's debut novel, How High the Moon, hit bookshelves on March 2019. More recently, Karyn has authored two children's books, Flying High, How Bessie Coleman's Dreams Took Flight, and Saving the Day, that tells the story of how Garrett Morgan invented the traffic signal. Karyn Parsons joins us tonight virtually from Los Angeles, California.
Good evening and welcome to the 21st Annual Hurston Wright Legacy Awards. Tonight's awards celebrate the achievements of Black authors in the categories of poetry, fiction, and debut fiction. In addition, we will acknowledge the recipients of Hurston Wright's annual College and Crossover Awards, the inaugural Hurston Wright Writers in Residence program, and this year's Lifetime Achievement awardees. During tonight's show, we'll also pay tribute to those literary and entertainment figures who have transitioned this past year, leaving behind a legacy of excellence. We'll also acknowledge the significant work Hurston Wright has done over this past year and give thanks to the partners and supporters who have helped sustain the organization. This year has been one of triumph, turmoil, and turbulence for our world. We have witnessed the emergence of significant new voices while watching the banning of books throughout the country at record pace. Now, banning books is not new, but we have seen an uptick in censoring of books that disproportionately center the experiences and storylines of Black characters. The Hurston Wright Foundation serves as a perfect counter to the war on intellectualism and cultural equity that abounds. The Hurston Wright Foundation's mission is to honor, discover, and mentor Black writers. Hurston Wright does that by providing services, supports, and opportunities that provide community and recognizes the accomplishments of Black writers globally. Hurston Wright's community resources include in-person workshops and classes that have been a signature offering for almost 30 years. Workshops and courses are taught by award-winning authors and serve emerging and mid-career adult writers. More than 1,000 Black writers have engaged in Hurston Wright workshops, classes, and craft talks over the years, increasing diversity in the cultural community as they have gone on to create books and careers as professors, local cultural workers, and national thought leaders. Tonight is a celebration of Black writers and so much more. It's a celebration of recognizing the ways in which we have stood firm and stood tall, and how we continue to triumph in a world that is still in need of our very vital voices. Our first award announcement is the Hurston Wright Foundation's Award for College Writers. For the past 5 years, Amistad, a division of HarperCollins Publishers, has sponsored the award, which pays for tuition in one of our summer intensive workshops and awards the winner a cash prize of $1,000. Winners of this award have gone on to become innovative writers, educators, and leaders within our society as they share their writing with the world. Now, let's turn to award-winning journalist Patrick Bass as he introduces us to the two recipients of the 2022 Hurston Wright Award for College Writers.
Thank you, Karyn. It is my extreme honor to be here today to present the two Hurston Wright Awards for College Writers to Lauren Jade Arnold and Sabrina Tyser-Werr. Lauren Jade Arnold is the recipient of the award in fiction that was judged by writer Peter Kamani. Peter Kamani is an internationally acclaimed Kenyan author, journalist, and editor. He has published 4 books, including Dance of the Jacaranda, a New York Times notable book of 2017, and Editor's Choice selection. He is professor of practice at Aga Khan University's Graduate School of Media and Communications in Nairobi. Peter called Lauren's submission, titled Apricots, a lighthearted, swift-moving tale narrated in an unforgettable voice. He writes that the piece is an enticing story from a writer of great promise. Lauren is a Black Japanese fiction and creative nonfiction writer raised in Aurora, Colorado. She has recently received her MFA from the University of Colorado Boulder and will be attending the University of Southern California, Annenberg for a Communication Studies PhD. Here is Lauren sharing a bit about her piece after being notified that she was awarded earlier this year.
This book is fiction, and this chapter is fiction, but most of the whole book is based on things that I've gone through and things that I've seen other people go through.
Yes.
And largely, the book is about a 23-year-old Black and Japanese woman named Judy. And it's really about her looking back on her life and processing her traumas. And this chapter in particular, which was probably one of my favorite chapters to write, but also the hardest chapter for me to write, one of them is largely about her struggle with dissociative disorder and depression and assault. And so just hearing you say that totally resonated with me. And yeah, that's what led me to write this book. I've always had that same thing in my mind where maybe no one will read this book, but if anybody does, and one person out there sees something of themselves in this and sees it and says, like, this helped me with something going on in my mind, I will consider that an ultimate success. So this chapter is just about Judy comes across somebody and it sticks with her, and her shame and guilt over how she treated this girl in her neighborhood relates to her own exploration of her own mental illness.
Sabrina Tyser-Werr is the recipient of the 2022 Hurston Wright College Award in Poetry. She is a current first-year student at Columbia University. She originally hails from the south side of Chicago, and her hometown serves as a source of perpetual inspiration for her creative pursuits. She is a 2-time recipient of the Silver Medal from Scholastic Art and Writing Awards given in 2019 and 2020, respectively, and a 2-time winner of the Ann Hutt Browning Award for Poetry.
This year's judge for the 2022 College Award in Poetry was Hayes Davis. Hayes Davis's first volume, Let Our Eyes Linger, was published by Poetry Mutual Press. He writes of Sabrina's submission. The prose poetry in the title piece of the collection, Eclipse, leverages the genre for its expositional storytelling. This poet has achieved beyond their college years, and I can't wait to read their debut collection.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Tyser-Werr, Eclipse.
I knew he wouldn't understand, but forth we went. How could I turn down the once-in-a-lifetime family trip to go view a solar eclipse? And then we drove 4 hours to the path of totality. And then, as pavement faded into wildflowers and my mind settled into boredom, I scrolled mindlessly through my phone, typing in our destination, Harris County. And then, as I opened the demographics tab on Wikipedia, my brown eyes settled hesitantly into the 2 zeros between the decimal point and the percent sign before black. And then we entered the clearing, and I let out my first breath of relief, taking in the beauty of the birds in flight, the insects humming hymns, and my being in the middle of it all. And then the white van with the pale gaze behind the Confederate flag tag wagging behind the windshield. And then the zeros. And then Illinois was part of the Union. And then they surrounded me. And then the epithet. And then the moon eclipsed the sun. The insects buzzed louder, the wildflowers wilted, and the birds returned to their roosts. And then time ran nervously in circles. And then, by the whim of the sun, the moon blackened. And then, by the whim of the van, I blackened. And then the 50 in between the decimal point and percentage mark on 23andMe seemed silly. And then I looked at my mother. And then, in the 7 minutes of totality, I saw day turn into night, and then present into past, and then the darkness. And then the sunlight burned, and then limp feet hanging above me. And then the white van sped away, and then the birds and flowers returned. And then in its wake my father met my eyes, and then I was still black, and then my mother was always black, and then I was always black, and the sun shined.
Thank you, Sabrina. The Hurston Wright Award for College Writers is the only award of its kind that recognizes Black college writers. The award is the Hurston Wright Foundation's first program. It was initiated to support emerging Black artists in fiction and poetry enrolled full-time in an undergraduate or graduate school program anywhere in the U.S. We congratulate Lauren and Sabrina on their achievement.
Thank you, Patrick. Next, we present the winner for the Hurston Wright Crossover Award.
The Hurston Wright Crossover Award, sponsored by ESPN's Anscape, honors probing, provocative, and original new voices in literary nonfiction. Named after the most common dribbling move in basketball, the Crossover Award aims to highlight an unconventional winner who writes across genres and can effectively cross over between writing styles and techniques. The name also speaks to the potential of the award winner to transition from the wings to the spotlight. This award celebrates one writer who contributes a unique perspective to the literary nonfiction landscape, and whose writing shares Anscape's unique way of portraying that Blackness is infinite and crucial across all storytelling platforms. Congratulations to our 2022 Hurston Wright Crossover Award winner, Valerie Twyman White. A survivor of childhood sexual abuse and years of drug addiction, Valerie has dedicated the last 20 years of her life to supporting others on their journey of healing and recovery. As the recipient of this year's Crossover Award, she received $2,000 and the opportunity to attend a Hurston Wright workshop this year. She attended the Hurston Wright Nonfiction workshop at Howard University this past August, taught by Dr. Lori Jean Carter. The judge of the 2022 Crossover Award was writer Ron Nixon. Ron is an American journalist with the New York Times and Associated Press. He is author of Selling Apartheid, South Africa's Global Propaganda War. He described Valerie's submission as a wonderfully written and moving story about the childhood trauma and the writer's first sexual experiences. He says, "This is a tough story to read, but it is necessary if we are to understand the invisible abuse that all too often happens right under our noses." Here is Valerie sharing a bit about her piece after being notified that she was awarded.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Twyman White, and I'm thankful to say that I am 2022 Hurston Wright's Crossover Awards winner. I actually have stepped out of my comfort zone. This book has been in the works for 20 plus years. It started out as a writing of I went through all of the emotions with it. So the first piece was anger and bitterness until I got to a space where it didn't hurt anymore. My piece is actually about my life growing up as a child who was molested for many years and the aftermath of what happens when you don't get the help you need when you need it. So I turned to drugs. And once I got off drugs, I was like, okay, now what? And I kept hearing spirit say, write a book. And I'm like, no, I will never tell. But in my 20s, I started performing poetry that I wrote that related to being molested. And those took off very well. So I actually still do perform. And I'm more comfortable on the stage performing my poetry. And I said, okay, Valerie, it's time to just step out of your comfort zone. So I got into a space where I've forgiven everyone, especially myself, which is something that I had not done until recently. So once I got into that headspace, I was able to write. And when I saw what was being written, I was like, wow. And then I realized I have to share this because somebody else is going through the same thing. I want to be able to help, even if it's just one person, to know that you can heal. You can do more than survive. You can thrive if you don't let it hold you captive. So my main focus is to share this with the world, to let them know it doesn't matter what you've gone through. It does not have to hold you there. You can still achieve all of your goals, hopes, and dreams.
Congratulations to our 2022 Hurston Wright Crossover Award winner, Valerie Twyman White. Next, let's hear from the Hurston Wright Foundation's board chair, Audrey Hipkins.
Thank you, Karyn. It is great to have you here tonight as host and to bear witness to all of the extraordinary literary talent that is connected to Hurston Wright. In my final few months as board chair of Hurston Wright, I wanted to take the time to acknowledge the accomplishments of an organization that I have had the pleasure of leading and supporting for almost 10 years. Today, Hurston Wright is a thriving organization with 3 full-time employees, including a new executive director and a cadre of acclaimed writing instructors who include college professors, world-renowned published writers, former Hurston Wright Fellows, and decorated leaders who have made the choice to share their talents with our burgeoning community. We support writers by providing services, supports, and opportunities that range from hiring them to teach, host, and lead, to engaging them in intensive writing workshops and courses. This year, we debuted a new slate of virtual evening courses, and this past summer, we presented 10 selective in-person and virtual writing workshops that took place at Virginia Tech, Rutgers University Newark, Howard University, and online. Thanks to the partnership with these 3 universities, along with the generous support from Hachette Book Group and Amazon, we were able to accept over 80 participants in our workshops this summer and debut our inaugural Writer in Residence program. This program allowed us to select 2 emerging writers, Destiny O. Birdsong, and Shayla Laws for our first year. This past summer, both writers were given the opportunity to devote 4 weeks to writing on the campuses of Virginia Tech and Rutgers with an all-inclusive package of housing, food, and transportation. In addition, they received a $15,000 stipend along with the opportunity to engage in a public reading of their work. Both writers taught a multi-genre writing workshop this year, sharing their talents with a new group of writers. Thus, the circle continues. None of these programs and activities could have happened without the support of our engaged community of stakeholders. And we thank you. We thank our new ambassador circle of supporters, including our advisory board president, Lucy Hurston, niece of Zora Neale Hurston. We thank our fellow literary organizations, Kavi Khanum, The Watering Hole, Furious Flower, and Obsidian Literary Magazine for partnering for the annual Getting Word campaign to fund Black literature. We thank the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, the Poetry Foundation, NEA, and Universal Music Group for overwhelming support as we continue to build and thrive after more than 2 years of COVID-19 recovery. And we thank you, the individual, everyday supporters who choose to donate your hard-earned money each year to help us support Black writers. Our next 3 presenters are acclaimed writers in their own right. Each of them will be presenting a Lifetime Achievement Award to a recipient who has demonstrated extraordinary merit in the field of literary arts. The Hurston Wright Merit Awardees are selected by the Hurston Wright Board of Directors each year. First is Felicia Pride presenting the Madam C.J. Walker Award.
Thank you, Audrey. We all know the Toni Morrison quote where she says, "When you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else." Well, our next awardee has definitely used his freedom and agency to uplift and empower his community. Let me first tell you about the award. The Hurston Wright Madam C.J. Walker Award recognizes exceptional innovation in supporting and sustaining Black literature. Named for the feisty and entrepreneurial Madam C.J. Walker, the award recognizes a person or organization that is integral to the lifeblood of Black culture. Madam C.J. Walker famously exclaimed, "My object in life is not simply to make money for myself or to spend it on myself in dressing or running around in an automobile, but I love to use a part of what I make in trying to help others." This year's recipient has certainly succeeded on that front. The Madam C.J. Walker 2022 honoree is my dear friend, Ron Kavanaugh. Ron Kavanaugh is a literary activist. He's the founder of the Bronx-based Literary Freedom Project, a 501c3 tax-exempt, not-for-profit arts organization that supports the literary arts through education, creative thinking, and new media. LFP believes that cultural identity is a fundamental cornerstone in the development of smart, creative, and engaged communities. Towards this goal, LFP also develops literature-based lesson plans and hosts the Mosaic Literary Conference, an annual literature education event. In 1998, LFP launched Mosaic Literary Magazine, a print triannual that explores the literary arts by writers of African descent and features interviews, essays, and book reviews. Born and raised in the Bronx, Ron has worked with numerous arts organizations, including the Bronx Museum of Arts, and Infoco Incorporated. In 2017, he organized the exhibition Black Documents, which featured Jamel Shabazz plus 5 emerging local photographers. Kavanaugh has hosted book discussions with a wide range of authors, including Marlon James, Tayari Jones, Angie Cruz, and Nicole Dennis Benn, among others. In 2021, he coordinated in collaboration with the Leonard Leaf Library at Leanham College the New York City presentation of Lift Every Voice, Why African American Poetry Matters, a year-long national public humanities initiative sponsored by the Library of America and the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. Recently, he was featured in the New York Times for the exhibit Swagger and Tenderness, the South Bronx Portraits by John Ahern and Rigoberto Torres. He co-curated the exhibit with Amy Rosenblum Martin for the Bronx Museum of the Arts. It is my profound pleasure to congratulate Ron Kavanaugh on being named the 2022 recipient of the Hurston Wright Foundation's Madam C.J. Walker Merit Award. Congratulations, Ron.
This is Ron Kavanaugh from the Literary Freedom Project. Just taking a moment to thank Hurston Wright for this Merit Award. We started this program over 25 years ago as a literary magazine, which became a conference. We started to create lesson plans for educators out of the conference. In the past few years, we've been focused on a borough-wide discussion group called One Book, One Bronx. So we, like Hurston Wright, have been equally dedicated to serving people in our community and trying to find ways to elevate books, culture, and education. So again, thank you, Hurston Wright, for this award of merit, and I'm so honored to receive it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ron. We now introduce Imani Perry, presenting the Hurston Wright Foundation's 2022 Ella Baker Award.
Greetings. The Ella Baker Award, named for the heroic civil rights activist Ella Baker, recognizes writers and arts activists for exceptional work that advances social justice. Ella Baker famously said, "Give light and people will find the way." Today's Ella Baker Award recipient, Dr. Keeanga Yamada Taylor, has shown her light in ways that have transformed our understanding of how inequality operates, and she has brilliantly advocated for economic, gender, and racial justice. Dr. Taylor is a sociological historian and a scholar of housing, policy, radical politics, and social movements. She has written 3 award-winning books, including Race for Profit, How Banks and the Real Estate Industry Undermined Black Homeownership, which was a semifinalist for the National Book Award and a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in History in 2020. Dr. Taylor is also a recipient of the Guggenheim Fellowship and the MacArthur Foundation Genius Grant, both in 2021. Dr. Taylor is a contributing writer at The New Yorker, and for 8 years, she served as a professor of African American Studies at Princeton University. She is currently a professor in the Department of African American Studies at Northwestern University. It is my great delight and honor to present the 2022 Ella Baker Award to my friend and colleague, Keeanga-Yamahtta Taylor. Thank you.
I want to take this time to thank the Hurston Wright Foundation for the honor of selecting me as the 2022 recipient of its Ella Baker Award. Ella Baker once said, "In order for us as a poor and oppressed people to become a part of a society that is meaningful, the system under which we now exist has to be radically changed. It means facing a system that does not lend itself to your needs and devising the means by which you change that system." That is certainly the spirit within which I accept this award. It is the spirit which motivates and animates much of my work. And I thank the foundation for recognizing that within my work and choosing me for such an honored and esteemed award. Thank you all so much. Good evening.
Congratulations, Keeanga-Yamahtta Taylor. Now introducing Marita Golden, co-founder of the Hurston Wright Foundation, introducing the Hurston Wright Foundation's 2022 North Star Awardee.
Whenever my environment had failed to support or nourish me, I clutched at books. These words from Richard Wright's 1945 classic, Black Boy, illustrate the powerful influence the written word holds and the many ways that books inform, persuade, and entertain us. The authors of these books are no less influential as they are the thinkers behind the veil who are indulging us by sharing their most personal longings, beliefs, reflections, and ideals. But what is to be said about the writer who goes above and beyond their role as author and establishes a career that serves as a blueprint for excellence and community service? The Hurston Wright Foundation's North Star Award, the foundation's highest honor, pays homage to such a person. The recipients of the award are individuals whose writing careers represent brilliant accomplishment and whose service to the writing community inspires others. Like the beacon that guided enslaved Africans to freedom, the North Star Award recipient is a symbol of hope and possibility. We honor Elizabeth Alexander with a 2022 Hurston Wright North Star Award. Elizabeth Alexander is a decorated poet, educator, memoirist, scholar, and cultural advocate. She is the author or co-author of 14 books and president of the Mellon Foundation, the nation's largest funder in arts and culture and the humanities in higher education. She was twice a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize and is an awardee of the Jackson Poetry Prize, the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation Fellowship, the George Kent Award, the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, and 3 Pushcart Prizes for Poetry. Dr. Alexander is Chancellor Emeritus of the Academy of American Poets, a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and serves on the Pulitzer Prize Board. Over the course of a distinguished career in education, Dr. Alexander has taught and inspired a generation of students, having held distinguished professorships at Smith College, Columbia University, and Yale University, where she taught for 15 years and chaired the African Studies Department. While an assistant professor at the University of Chicago, she was awarded the Cantrell Prize for Excellence in undergraduate teaching. Congratulations, Dr. Elizabeth Alexander, on your award.
Good evening. I am so grateful for the tremendous honor of being named the 2022 recipient of the North Star Award by the Zora Neale Hurston Richard Wright Foundation. I'd like to thank, first of all, Dr. Ali Coleman, as well as the Foundation's Board of Directors for this beautiful and meaningful recognition as part of this year's Legacy Awards. And I'd also like to thank the community of writers, readers, scholars, publishers, booksellers, and cultural advocates who nurture, champion, and celebrate Black literature. The Hurston Wright mission to discover, mentor, and honor Black writers is one that I've shared my whole life and one that has transformed my life and given me purpose. When I think about this beautiful award, starting with what it means to hear the words North Star, that makes me think about Harriet Tubman and what we've learned from and about her, that with our literature, with the profundity and the wisdom that is contained in Black literature, that is how we can look forward and move forward with our people, always understanding that in the word are visions of freedom. I believe that deeply. When I think about the two people for whom the foundation has chosen so carefully to name themselves, Richard Wright and Zora Neale Hurston, I think about in Richard Wright his absolute refusal to flinch from the truth, to flinch or turn from reality, from our history, from our social landscape, for the importance of understanding ourselves as part of larger social forces and historical movement. That is what I take from Richard Wright. From Zora Neale Hurston, in her brilliance, the understanding that Black people and our expression are everything. If you think about Zora Neale Hurston's characteristics of Negro expression and the way that she talks about our flair, our beauty, our depth, our wisdom, our hugeness, our hilarity, all of the ranges of Black expression. And her interest not only in what she made as a genius of the page, but in the way also that she sought and chronicled the genius of Black people other places in her work as a voyager and anthropologist, in Haiti, in other parts of the Caribbean, in her home of Florida. In all these places, she looked for and gathered and nurtured Black genius. And so from the Hurston part of the equation, I think that those characteristics and that sense of mission is something that resonates deeply for me as well. Books are teachers. Books are companions. I have been blessed to have become a Black writer some kind of way. I have been blessed with the community of Black writers, the greatest community of anyone's life. I have been blessed with the ability to be a teacher and to, in my commitment over decades and decades and decades, to doing scholarship on and teaching African American literature, sharing our great tradition and saying that there is no understanding who we are as people writ large. There is no understanding the greatness of written culture if you skip over African American literature and culture. I've learned so much in our bookstores. I've learned so much from not only the teachers and professors who I've formally known in school, but also the teachers and professors and thinkers and folks who care so much about Black literature, who I've met in conversation, who I've made friendships with outside. I think, of course, about Ethelbert Miller, who welcomed me as he welcomed so many when I was 19 years old at Howard University's Founders Library to his Center for Black Research and Literature. And, as we climbed those stairs and knew that there was talk and community and books and sharing in a remarkable human being upstairs, I have tried to follow in all of those examples. Our tradition is precious, and it's been nurtured by this community, by this organization, and I couldn't be prouder to receive this award, and I couldn't be prouder to have been so acknowledged by my brothers and sisters of the word. I thank you so very, very much.
Congratulations to all of our Lifetime Achievement honorees. Hurston Wright Foundation's Executive Director, Dr. Khadija Ali Coleman, will lead us next in celebrating the lives of some of our greatest literary legends who have transitioned this past year.
Thank you, Karyn. Langston Hughes famously riffed, "Hold fast to your dreams, for without them, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly." Right now, we will pay homage to the literary artists who have shared their lives with us through their words, helping us soar and rise higher than we ever could have dreamed. These literary artists who we have lost this past year include entertainers and athletes, people who have written memoirs, writers who have served as mentors and inspirations to other writers, and icons of culture and popular discourse. This segment features a music performance by song stylist Koli Aziza, who commemorates this moment of tribute with the beauty of her voice while we give thanks to all of those remembered who have given us the gift of their contributions to the literary world.
No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got. So here's to life and all the joy it brings. Here's to life, the dreamers and their dreams. You helped all our storms be weathered and made all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you. Unforgettable, that's what you are. Unforgettable, though near or far. Like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me. Never before has someone been more unforgettable in every way. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay. That's why, darling, it's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks that I am unforgettable too. You helped all our storms be weathered and made all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to unforgettable you.
Thank you to singer Koli Aziza and her accompanist DL, and motions graphics artist Alan King for that moving tribute to those we have lost this past year. We will now shift gears and begin the awarding of the Legacy Book Awards. This year, we have had record-breaking numbers of submissions, over 200, that were then whittled down to less than 20 finalists. Our finalists include authors who were self-published and those who are represented by big publishing houses and small presses. The judges for the Legacy Awards are former Legacy Award nominees who are writers in the genres they judged. Selecting nominees for the Legacy Awards is a year-long process dedicated to honoring Black excellence in the literary arts. We thank each and every author who submits their work each year for consideration.
At this time, we will present the Legacy Awards in the categories of poetry, debut fiction, fiction, and nonfiction. Our first presenter is Sydney Clifton, the daughter of the late great poet Lucille Clifton.
Thank you, Karyn. I am so excited to be here today. My mother, Lucille Clifton, once said, "We cannot create what we can't imagine." Our Legacy Award nominees have imagined worlds that they have confidently shared with us through careful craft and sensitive attention. Our judges for the 2022 Legacy Award in Poetry were poets Brian Gilmore, Remica Bingham-Risher, and Yona Harvey. They have selected the nominees for the award, who are Terry Ellen Cross Davis, author of A More Perfect Union; Clemmons Hurd, author of Tragic City; Douglas Kearney, author of Show; Mahogany L. Brown, author of I Remember Death by Its Proximity to What I Love; Shara McCallum, author of No Ruined Stone; and Yusuf Komunyaka, author of Everyday Mojo Songs of Earth. And the winner is Shara McCallum. The judges said of this selection, "The poems of this carefully researched, historical, and haunting book linger long after the final page is turned. Charting the ever-tangled paths of the Americas, Africa, and Europe, no ruined stone proves poetry's power to strike at the heart of complacency for all the talk and talk and talk of equality, freedom, and the rights of women. Shara McCallum has written a beautifully and deeply imaginative work that won't allow us to read Jamaica, Scotland, and the life and poems of Robert Burns the same way again. Congratulations, Shara."
Thank you, first and foremost, to everyone at the Hurston Wright Legacy Foundation, to all those involved for over 20 years now in shining a light on Black writers. Thank you to the judges this year, to my fellow nominees, and to the countless Black writers, especially Black women poets, who may go unnamed, but whose work have inspired me greatly. I am honored to be in your company. Thank you to my editors at Alice James Books in the US and People Tree Press in the UK, Your support of me as a writer and of this book has made an immeasurable difference in my life. Thank you to my family, those who are still here, those long gone, to my friends. I am eternally grateful for the love and support I've been shown. Especially thank you to my husband and our 2 daughters. And finally, to the ancestors whose survival has made my life possible, whose stories I carry and whose voices I hear and have tried to honor. I owe a debt I know I can never repay.
The Legacy Award for Nonfiction was broken into 2 categories, Memoir and Biography, and the category of Historical Nonfiction. The judges were Sharifa Rhodes-Pitts, Gerald Horn, and Noliwe Rooks. The nominees are Shanna Greene Benjamin, author of Half in a Shadow, The Life and Legacy of Nellie Y. McKay. Marlo Peterson, author of Bird Uncaged. And Farah Jasmine Griffin, author of Read Until You Understand. And the winner is Shanna Greene Benjamin. The judges remarked, Half in Shadow is a work focused on the relationship between what University of Wisconsin-Madison professor Nellie McKay chose to show her friends, students, colleagues, and mentees, what she preferred to keep from view during her deeply impactful career in academia, and the reasons Black women might want to avoid complete visibility or legibility, and develop strategies of strategic concealment and reveal, given that they are so often viewed through a debilitating lens tinted by white supremacy, misogyny, and regularized disrespect. In an act of respectful recovery of the life of this one Black woman academic, friend, mother, and trailblazing founder of fields such as Black literary criticism and Black women's studies, we found Benjamin to have created an illuminating work, reaching for sprawling political threads and weaving a narrative encompassing biography, literary history, and intellectual history. It calls for those of us who want to understand and survive to pay as much attention to the bodies, lives, and complicated humanity of Black women who build the academic roads on which so many of us walk, and to do more than just focus on the destinations their work has allowed us to reach. Congratulations to our winner.
Thank you, Hurston Wright Foundation, for the honor of being your 2022 Legacy Award winner in the Nonfiction, Memoir, and Biography category for my book, Half in Shadow, The Life and Legacy of Nellie Y. McKay. Winning this award is quite humbling, really, because I'm in the company of illustrious writers that I love and admire. Marlon Peterson for Bird Uncaged, and Farah Jasmine Griffin for Read Until You Understand. This recognition may be individual, but my thanks is collective. To my husband and my children for encouraging me and bringing me snacks while I wrestled with words. To my friends and colleagues who read with me and who helped me to write with my heart and my ear. To my family for the stories and reunions. And to my parents for encouraging me as a reader and as a writer. And of course, to Nellie Y. McKay, who inspires me still. I am humbled by the recognition and grateful to you all. To God be the glory.
Nominees for the Legacy Award in Nonfiction, Historical, Social, and Political are Born in Blackness by Howard French, We Do This Till We Free Us by Mariam Kaba, Liner Notes for the Revolution, The Intellectual Life of Black Feminist Sound by Daphne A. Brooks.
And the winner is Howard W. French. The judges remarked, Howard French's magisterial Born in Blackness is that rare book published today, which will be consulted for decades to come. As the title suggests, he places Africa at the center of the oft-told story of the rise of modernity and/or capitalism, but goes a step further than his literary predecessor, Eric Williams's Capitalism and Slavery, by sketching not only the unlamented African slave trade, but as well the European lust for African gold. Besides writing gracefully, French, an experienced journalist, employs the tools of that trade by visiting the scenes of that which he describes, particularly in West Africa. This is truly a book for the ages. Many congratulations to Howard W. French.
I want to extend a big and heartfelt word of thanks to the Hurston Wright Foundation for its generosity to me in recognizing my work, but also, and even more, for the invaluable service that it has rendered over the years to education and writing by, about, and for African Americans. I have followed the Foundation's work closely for decades, and I've always been impressed by your dedication to this important mission. It is a great honor, of course, to receive this award, but it is an even greater honor to be associated with all of you and with the universe of past nominees and winners. Thank you so very much.
This year's judges for the Legacy Award for Fiction included Preston Allen, Noviolet Bulawayo, and Amina Gautier. The nominees for the Hurston Wright Legacy Award for Fiction are Sadiqa Johnson, author of Yellow Wife; J.J. Amoro Wilson, author of Nazaire; Natasha Dion, author of The Perishing; Lady Hubbard, author of Rib King; Elia Dawson Johnson, author of Reconstruction Stories; and Percival Everett, author of The Trees. And the winner is Percival Everett. The judges said that Percival Everett's The Trees moves past metaphor and image to make the haunting effects of racial violence real. With blatant and darkly funny humor, Everett explores an imagined landscape in which the accusers of Emmett Till and their descendants are forced to reckon with their crimes, and in which karmic justice takes on a life of its own. With writing both brilliant and comic, Everett offers an absurdist and satirical take on American racism and its traumatic and generational effects. In Everett's brilliant and scathing genre-bending novel, we see what happens when the chickens finally come home to roost. Congratulations to Percival Everett.
Good evening. I would like to thank Ron A. Austin, Zinzi Clemmons, and Breena Clarke for serving as the judges this year for the Legacy Award for Debut Fiction. This award is particularly special as it recognizes the work of an author who was at the very start of their professional life as a published fiction author. As advisory board president here at the Hurston Wright Foundation, I am particularly pleased that we are able to acknowledge writers early in their career of writers in their genre. The list of nominees for this year include Sifiso Mizobi, author of Youngblood; Donnie Walton, author of The Final Revival of Opal and Nev; Quntos KunQuest, author of This Life. And the winner is Quntos KunQuest, author of This Life. The judges call the book, and I quote, a wholly unique portrait of the life in Louisiana State Prison that avoids the tropes of incarcerated life normally rendered on the page and on screen. This picture that emerges brims with wit, joy, touching romance, and deep humanity. What truly distinguishes this work is its writing, blending rhythmic prose and rap lyric that read like energetic free verse poetry. The lines stun and reverberate, managing to push forward the boundaries of prose fiction. We salute you, Quntos KunQuest, on your award. Congratulations.
Somewhere in chapter 9 of this life, I write, I placed my hand on the concrete wall, felt the heartbeat, the pulsating, the passion, the cell block horror, my cell block state of mind, utter despair where I come from, mingled with a conviction to overcome, explore my condition from a gutter mentality, but peak my vitality, vibe with me, follow the growth of a hoodlum, come up from hard living without. I was driven, but who was I kidding? Apparently, I wasn't kidding anyone. In writing, I hoped to allow my creativity the freedom of expression in the outside world that I personally haven't been able to experience for some time. Zora Neale Hurston and Richard Wright are paragons of what American creativity should be rooted in. And to have your foundation's acknowledgement to this degree is the epitome of affirmation. So in accepting your legacy award, I would like to thank God first for the moment and for the people he's placed in my life. Foremost among those are Zachary Lazar, my brother, my ace-spoon coon. This is our accomplishment, right? And I hustle words for a living, and I could not articulate the depth of gratitude that I feel towards you and for you. Okay, then there's Douglas Seibel, my editor and publisher. You took a hands-on approach to this project, and in teaching me the craft and helping me refine this work, you never touched the statement. And that means a lot considering that a lot of the concepts were foreign to you. Jacqueline Jorick, my publicist, you along with Doug are a big reason. Thank you, girl. You along with Doug are a big reason that this book has been so well received. I'd like to thank Jennifer Thompson for the work that she did in helping the French edition materialize, as well as everyone at Agate Bolden Books, our distributors, bookstores and libraries. Thank you, both large and small, for taking an interest in this small offering from an incarcerated artist. God bless and keep.
At this time, we conclude our award show with a montage of clips from Hurston Wright programming that has taken place this past year. But first, we would like to give thanks to all of the people who have made tonight's event and this Legacy Week possible. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to learn more about the Hurston Wright Foundation by visiting hurstonwright.org and subscribing to our mailing list. Be safe and good night.